This is Kat. Welcome back to the Witch's Way podcast.
And this is Jayme. And today we are doing a special update on our sort of hurricane Earth cycles, Earth sacred cycles. This is the follow-up to that because we had such a warm and loving outreach to us when everybody heard what we were about to go through when we did this 2 weeks ago. So it's been 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. We survived the hurricane. Our home survived the hurricane. But fuck if there ain't a lot to deal with after a hurricane comes through your town, your city, it's just a lot. So because of all of the outreach, we thought it was definitely appropriate to do another update so you guys could sort of hear what happened to us. What did we go through? How are we working through this, living through a natural disaster and the destruction around us and the people displaced and the scarcity of goods. I mean, the lack of all your comforts like electricity and air conditioning.
Yeah, I think at first when the hurricane made landfall and then the next day it was light. Yeah. And we still had roofs and we still had homes and it hadn't flooded like they predicted. Yeah. And but you looked out and you just saw everything blown around, and it takes a few days to start absorbing. You can't really tell at first what happens. Initially, our concern was like, we don't have power. How long are we going to be without power? Yeah. You left your home.
I had to leave my home.
Well, you actually left your home before the hurricane.
I left my home the day before the hurricane landed.
You left your home. I decided to stay put. Me and my dog, and then my son and his wife and their 2 dogs, we all hunkered down here. We're like, we're not leaving. That was pretty much the case in my neighborhood. Nobody was leaving. We're pretty far out from the coast. So, and of course, my younger daughter, she was like freaked out that I was going to drown, be drowned in here. And I just said to myself, my house is not going to flood. My house is not going to flood. My house is not going to flood, which was the biggest thing. Yeah. But here it is. How many days later?
2 weeks.
2 weeks? Is it 2 weeks since it happened?
Well, no, it's been 2 weeks since we recorded. It's only been
I just had power back on for a week.
Thursday, Sunday.
I got power back on a week ago Sunday in the evening. The power came back on, which I was really grateful for, because with Ian, I was without power for 9 days. So I was so thankful, so thankful. But, after a natural disaster, the earth feels shaken, and that's exactly how my spirit feels right now. Today, for the first time, I went to my daughter's house, and I didn't want to tell her this because I know how upset she is about her yard, but her and her husband they've spent years just tending their yard and growing beautiful things, and she had butterfly gardens and fairy gardens and all of this stuff, and I was listening to a audio book as I pulled into the driveway, so I was totally like not even looking at anything when I first pulled in, and the first thing I saw when I parked my car was these trees that she had been growing, and they were stripped bare, and there was like one little brown leaf hanging off of each of them. And then I got out of the car and I started looking around, and I'm like, oh my God, everything is fucked, everything is dead, everything is brown. And I got so fucking emotional that I started crying. I was just so upset for you.
I'm fucking sad. I can't lie.
Oh my God.
It sucks. It hurts. My magical places have been stripped to nothing, and I have to start over again. And it's very hard. But my house survived. Yeah. We didn't flood, like you said, like they predicted. We flooded with Ian, but we didn't flood with these last few hurricanes. We had water up really close, but yeah, I'm very close to the water, and I'm more north than Kat is, closer to where the hurricane hit, and the winds that ripped through there just took out so much. We were on the back half of the storm, so that was like where the wind really did a lot of the damage, where my husband and my family evacuated to with my sister down in Fort Myers was like, that's where all the tornadoes started hitting. So that was pretty crazy. Yeah. It was things that when you expect a hurricane, you're expecting a lot of water, some wind, flooding. And we had this other whole air element of it where things were just thrashed. And so plants get something called windburn, and it basically strips the leaves of their protective coating and they die afterwards. So the leaves are all dead, but the plants can still come back. It takes care and it takes time. Of course there's a bunch of them that are just gone. Like they blew away. They are just gone. So,
it's very hard when this is going on. And as I left your house and was crying, and just like my heart broke for you and your husband.
It's difficult.
And you just like ask yourself why, and I have to realize what I said to myself was, after I've got 5 miles down the road or whatever, I was like, well, the house is still there. But also, I think part of it is like, why me? And then I think about the people in North Carolina and how
there's so much more.
How much worse it was for so many other people who lost their homes. There are people on our coast, a lot of our coastline, especially where the hurricane hit, houses just collapsed.
Just gone, wiped out.
It's not like Mother Nature's not doing it to us. It's not a malice thing. It's like, it's the earth. This is cycles of the earth, and it's
I think one of the things we have to accept living here in Florida is that this is the area for hurricanes, right? Like when we lived in Kansas, that is Tornado Alley. Like those are when we lived in California, that is on a fault line.
Yes.
So we've lived in all these places where we are part of the cycle in that area of the earth that stirs up shit, that moves the plate tectonics of the moving fault line. You're gonna get earthquakes. The tornadoes within the middle of the country, because you have the pressure systems that meet and create those windstorms, and here we've the same thing but over water. And I'm not thinking that I ever need to outrun anything, and I sort of accept where I'm at with the natural disasters that do happen.
You don't ever think about leaving?
Oh, I did say fuck Florida. When I was putting so we brought in all of our baby plants because this is the gardening season for us. Mm-hmm. And when I was trying to put stuff back out on my porch, like fix it up and be normal again, because if the plants stayed inside, they would all die. Everything kept spilling and it kept getting dirt everywhere, and it was like I was making more of a mess putting it back, and I was just like, I'm fucking done. Like with all the cleanup that has to be done, there's so much effort, so much money you have to spend for this. It's not just surviving the storm, it's recovery afterwards. It's the months of recovery. It's the months of growing. I was pissed, and I was just like, I'm fucking fuck
the
Florida.
Thing that has struck me that I have thought about repeatedly since in my neighborhood, I walk my dog regularly, and so people have, there's, of course, all the trees piled up on the road, but there's also things that people lost, furniture. Some people I can tell got water in their house because there's couches and dressers and
all their furniture out
it's
front.
Like everything outside.
Kitchen cabinets, it's everything.
It's fucking everything.
Drywall's out there.
And I thought to myself, my God, all this shit goes into the landfill, and then we spend money and we replace everything.
We rebuild
and then
it right there.
In 2 years, it's going to fucking happen again.
Well, I don't like to say that, and I get what you're saying, because we just went through, we had Irma, then we had Ian, and this year we had 3.
Two hurricanes within 2 weeks here.
Yeah.
Now, the Helene didn't do much damage to us, but it wrecked North Carolina.
Yeah, the flooding. I mean, our yard flooded. We lost the 200-year-old pine tree.
And Helene?
That solidified it. Helene solidified that pine tree dying, yeah. So Debbie in August was the first one that we stayed flooded for 2 weeks. The water could not evaporate because we had a wet summer.
Yeah.
And so I have this, my biggest loss for me, you guys, is I have a 200-year-old pine tree that everybody kept telling us to cut down because it's close to the house. But this pine tree, it was magnificent, okay? Like, it is the most gorgeous thing. So, of course, in my sacred garden, that is where I had my outdoor altar table. This is where I did my spell work. This was the tree that I, connected with most on my property. And the fact that everybody kept wanting me to cut it down, I was like, you guys, it's been here longer than my fucking house. Like, why would I cut it down? It knows what it's doing, It was there probably before Florida was a state. It's like, why take that out? So when Debbie hit, we had two.
When was Debbie? Earlier
August.
In August.
Late August. We just had so much water with that. The roots couldn't get up high enough.
I don't even remember. I don't remember preparing for Debbie.
That's when you lost your sweet almond tree. I mean, that's when it wrecked your backyard.
That's right. It flooded.
It flooded everything.
I don't remember hunkering down. I don't remember anything. Honestly, it's just been too much lately. It just feels
we're at a loss.
It feels overwhelming. But back to your story about your space.
Yeah, my sacred space is gone.
Your sacred space is just wiped.
Yeah, they had to come in. It cost us $2,000 to have that tree removed, and they came in with a little bobcat. So you can imagine a bobcat going through a yard that's already pretty saturated, and then they couldn't spare the area around the pine tree. That was all of my, I had jasmine, I had hibiscus, I had all these intentional plants that I had around there. It was surrounded by an aloe circle. I've got sacred bromeliads growing that are protective. This entire cultivated space that I've had for 4 to 5 years since I remodeled the house and then I remodeled the yard. It's all wiped away, and the bobcat couldn't help but run over everything. So that was the other kind of devastating part, right? You go out there and then you just have to watch them destroy what's left, if there was anything left. Like, the hibiscus blew over, and I kept saying we could save it, and he's like, we need to get in there with the bobcat. Everything has to go. So it wasn't just the storm, it's also being responsible, because once the pine tree died, it could fall on our house now. It's a real threat.
And that was one of the reasons why you left, was because you were worried about the pine tree coming down.
Yeah, we were worried about the tree coming down on the house, which is directly over our bedroom.
The pine tree died.
It died after Helene, It was dead.
I mean, but you started seeing signs of it after Debbie in August, right?
Yep.
And I remember being poolside. She's got a nice pool in her backyard. You're like looking at this massive pine tree.
The pine tree is a focal point.
And I'm looking up at it. I'm like, that's dead. All the pine needles.
The pine needles were coming off.
The pine needles were just falling off. They were all brown. I was like, because otherwise, if that hadn't been happening, you really wouldn't have known.
Yeah, no.
But then when you see that, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. So when no regrowth started, because they said give it time, right? So it sat in water. Okay, it can lose all of its leaves and it can come back, all of its needles. So when it didn't come back mid-September, and then we had Helene coming up, it was, we had it checked, and they're like, could be life. They did a tree sap test, and they were like, that is dead. So we knew for Milton that it was, we knew when Milton hit, like, we knew for sure it was already dead. So,
that
we didn't have time between Helene and Milton to get it cut down.
No, I know.
It was already so much.
And then that was one of the things they were concerned about. Like, if it had fallen on their house, it would have been right over their bedroom.
It would have crushed the side of the house. Yeah, the bedroom side.
Your bedroom's on. Which is also your love gua.
It's my love gua. Yeah, it's the love center of the home. So
it's really, really difficult in these kind of times to just, remember that. Okay, so we love the earth. As witches, we're earth creatures, right?
Oh my gosh, Like, I love the earth. I love all
then we see the destruction, and
finding the words.
I'm trying to find the words. I'm seriously trying to find the words, because we're going to bounce back from it. But gosh, it really makes it.
It puts you through it.
It puts you through it, and I have to be careful not to feel hopeless about it, because I know that there's hope. I know that things are going to come back.
Things grow back.
But it's. And I mean, I don't know if you're listening to this, if you believe in climate change, if you believe that the earth is getting warmer, and that the oceans are getting warmer, and that this is one of the reasons why we're seeing more harsher hurricanes, or whatever, stronger hurricanes, or if it's just the cycles of the earth, because it could just be, I believe in climate change, and we're not going to be able to change that unless we change. We're going to have to do a lot to stop that from happening. And unfortunately, we're not there yet as a society for everybody to get on board and say, okay, we need to stop doing certain things that are causing the earth, to heat up. We're not there yet. So this isn't going to change for us. This is something that we're going to have to continue to live with.
And from my perspective, more science-based, because spiritually, I'm like, this is our home only for a short amount of time as human bodies. Like, there's bigger things at play. But from a science base, for me, one of the things that I truly look at is okay, we are only comparing notes of the last 150 to 200 years, maybe with hurricanes, right? So we don't know what the cycles have been before we really started all these recordings, and our instruments got better. And, back in the day, they didn't have names for hurricanes. They were like the hurricane of, 1865 or whatever. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's not even that we have a good record to understand what we're dealing with. It's just like in the last 100 years, this one's the worst now. Yeah. And so it keeps escalating. We keep thinking that it's escalating, but honestly, we don't really know for sure where we're at in the cycle of, like, we get bigger storms, we have wetter winters, we have these fluctuations. In the other podcast I talked about that the Earth's magnetic poles switch, and we know that from science.
Well, so I don't know what is going to happen to the Earth when that happens.
There's so many things that are controlled through the magnets of the Earth, like the magnetic field, that there's going to be shifts. Like when I did satellite communications, we had to know those things in order to overlap the satellites so things didn't get messed up with, your... I was going to say geometric. That's not the right word. I've been out of the industry too long, but... We're always coping with how the Earth is changing. We have to live. We have to try to find balance within living through the cycles of what the Earth is doing.
And we actually had something happen here that people have been trying to change for 40 years.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, you're going to get into the good story.
For 40 years, people have been trying to change. Citizens, there's been an effort. Why don't you tell the story about it? Because you've been here and you know
I love it. Yeah, actually, I've donated to the cause before. I wear the shirt. Like I'm a proud supporter of get it back to natural.
So tell us all. tell everybody that story, because if you don't live here, you won't know the story of Midnight Pass.
Right. So Midnight Pass, in Florida, we basically have beaches, and then in between the beaches, sometimes there will be something called the intercoastal. It can originally be man-made, but then we come through and we make it deeper so boats can get through and we can have more play areas and whatever. But along these beach areas, the sands shift all the time. And if you've seen any of the news here, you've seen how the sand shifted into people's homes with these last storms.
Oh my gosh,
I mean, feet and feet of sand coming inland.
4 to 6 to 8 feet of sand in their houses.
Right.
It's crazy.
So these storms, they shift a lot of sand. Well, in our area, we have a little key that people have been building on, and by landmass, you guys,
and tell us what a key is for people that don't know.
A key is
like a sandbar, right?
It's like a built-up sandbar.
It's basically a sandbar.
It's a built-up sandbar, sometimes heftier. But you got to remember that Florida, we don't have bedrock, really. You don't dig into bedrock here. You dig into more sand, and you've got limestone, but that is such a soft, movable stone, using air quotes, sandstone is one step up from sand. It's not really that hard. And then some limestone and stuff, because this has always been ancient seabeds here. So that's basically what we're living on, is ancient seabeds, and then sand that is from the Smoky Mountains. So all of our sand here is quartz, because it comes from quartz mountains. So it's always cool and nice and white. And that's why Florida has beautiful beaches. Well, this sand is very movable and it shifts a lot. So back in the 70s, these two homeowners that lived on the key, they wanted to close off the waterway, because what was it doing? The water was creeping up and moving the sand and digging out closer to their home, and they wanted to stop it. But that meant shutting off the intercoastal's way to flush out, what we call tannins, is basically when organic material decomposes, like from plants, tannin is released, and that's the color, and it's also the tartness of, if you were to try to eat a leaf and it tastes disgusting, you're tasting tannin. And acorns have a big thing. Like if you can get stains from acorns or walnuts, that's all tannin, okay? So the intercoastal needs to flush out, and that happens with tides. Well, these two landowners, they noticed that the little space where water was going in between their houses, they wanted to fill that in so their houses wouldn't wash away. They legally obtained permits from the county and were able to fill that in with sand. What that did to all of the houses that were on the intercoastal is now that water is stagnant. It's not being flushed out. There's not as much seagrass there for the manatees. The fish, they can't live in a water that's too briny, or not briny, because that would mean more salty. It's too mixed with fresh water and not enough salt water. So the mixture that was right for fish in there is no longer. So the estuary of that also went away. So people noticed, that this is like the water stinkier. When tide goes out, you can really smell it. You're like, because all that stuff that's left, it has no way to flush out and cleanse itself.
I didn't realize that was the whole story behind that.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was just like a convenient, like people just wanted to like party with the boats. I thought I'm new here, so I don't know all the backstories for these things.
Yeah, when they dig out the intercoastal, it was to make the waterway bigger for bigger boats. But when they closed off it being able to be rinsed out, everything stays like an old pond. The water just can't reach the tide does not move big enough, fast enough to get that deep in.
Yeah.
So I just went to a thing last year that was like open midnight pass, like people really trying to promote for it. And they've been submitting stuff. They've been asking the county for it. They wanted to return it to its natural state. Mm-hmm. Well, Milton opened up midnight pass and people are ecstatic. And it was like Mother Nature came back in and was like, nope. So for 40 years, that pass had been filled in and people fought for it. And you could park your boat on one side and then walk over to the beach, which was kind of cool. You didn't have to go all the way out and around. But that was sort of, everybody was looking at it from a standpoint of convenience for boating to get out to the Gulf.
Yeah.
But what all the homeowners within the intercoastal said is, and even so people who support the fish, the manatees, it's like, no, to create that healthy system again, we need that water coming in and out. Mm-hmm. So that is...
And Milton took care of that. Mother Nature
came and restored.
Mother Nature had her way. Yeah.
I love that. I love that it opened it up,
Well, I remember seeing the pictures, and then you were right. People are ecstatic because for 40 years they've been fighting over this, and there's been hasn't there been they've tried to pass legislation, county legislation to get that open back up, and they've been unsuccessful.
Yeah, because basically who was going to pay for it was the biggest thing. Is, you want the county to pay for it? Who does it benefit? Why would we do it? They needed a good reason to spend that money, because you got to go in there with water excavating, which is really expensive.
So the homeowners paid for the initial closing of it.
They did, yeah. So they got the permits, they brought in the things, and they basically just pushed sand until it closed in, from their properties.
It's open now.
It is open for business.
Mother Nature and Milton. So, all right.
That's part of this, so that was something that got destroyed that people can be happy about.
Yeah.
So on the opposite scale, we have this really beautiful place here called Stump Pass, and the key of Stump Pass actually got split in two, so it is no longer available for foot trails to walk out onto that pass. So it's really interesting that it opened up. For one, you would be like, oh, yay, Midnight Pass is open. That's awesome. And now Stump Pass, a state park, is split in half, and you're like, only accessible by boat now. It's, I don't know. I don't think, they're not going to fill it in. I doubt they're going to fill that in.
Yeah. No.
But that was already really close to an outlet. So that could end up becoming just its own little island for a while.
Like Snake Island?
Like Snake Island.
We have Snake Island that's kind of like we're intercoastal.
It's where the intercoastal and the Gulf meets. Yeah,
it's where
where the two jetties are. Yeah.
All right.
So I love that story. I mean, that's something that makes me happy, because I know that really helps our intercoastal. It's basically places where small fish to live before they go out into the big ocean. Now they have a home again.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that.
I would so both of us are smiling and happy.
Yeah. Oh.
And I think I would really like to end this on a happy note. So we got good things happening, and we will recover from it. And,
we will,
when the next time comes around, we'll deal with it then too, as sad as it sometimes makes us, or sad or mad.
Yeah.
That it can make us when we're dealing with the shit. But...
Yeah.
So, any parting words?
No, I know I've had people ask me, like, are you going to do a protection spell on your home? Are you going to, with the witchcraft stuff, what am I going to do, really? And I have a hard time for myself going between science and my spirituality. I'm very much earth-based sciences, love them, love the whole idea. But then again, I know in my magical practice, it's like I know that I can ask for what others would say is like impossible. So I will tell you guys that my personal practice, before I left my home, we had everything packed up, and I stood in the center of my home, and I imagined, I don't necessarily do circles like you would see in movies and stuff, but I do protective bubbles. That's more what I think of it as. It's an encompassing globe of protection. I stood in the center of my house, and that's what I said for my home, and I envisioned the protective bubble going around my house. What I did say was, I accept flooding. I knew there could be flooding, but for my house to stay.
Yeah.
Like, for the house to be intact when I got back.
Yeah.
So my husband, of course, he doesn't know what I'm doing, because all of this is like in my head. I'm just standing in the center of our house, and he's like, we need to go. What are you doing? And I was like, hold on, I need a minute. And then I drove us, because I was driving to my sister's and I know the way. I was driving us down south. And when I got all the way outside of my property, I stopped again, rolled down my window, and then did another thing where I put a ward on the property lines. And what I asked for was for it to be a sanctuary for animals, for things to, to provide cover with. And as Kat mentioned in the other podcast, like, my yard's a certified wildlife habitat. So that's sort of how I think of it, is like a place for animals to come to feel safe, to raise their young, to eat, to do whatever. And, yeah, I just, I don't know if anything was saved there. I mean, obviously, like, they're not there right now because the yard, they're still eating the beauty berries.
Well, you know what? I have a lot of birds, so many birds in my backyard.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to tell you what I did, because I'm a little less sophisticated as a witch and a spiritual being than my daughter is.
Oh, stop it.
But I literally was saying before the hurricane, because the big fear, they were like forecasting storm surges and 12-foot and all of this stuff, and my younger daughter was literally like freaked out. There were
she
like,
was really upset.
She was very worried that I was going to drown or something here. And I just, I started repeating this mantra: my house is not going to flood. My house is not. And I know that's probably not the way to say it, but I just said what came to me naturally.
Yeah.
And you know what? No water.
No water
here at all.
I know. It's
I
wild.
didn't mention the wind though, which sort of wrecked everything. So
we've talked about like messing with weather. You
can't. It's tricky, because what do you say? Like, it's like, I don't want any more hurricanes here, but then they got to go somewhere, and I don't want other people to experience them.
Yeah, you can't control the cycle of it. Something that big, you got to keep it small to your world. You know, like it's not like I could stand in my neighborhood and be like, my neighborhood is protected and safe. Yeah. I have to focus on the areas that's as big as I can go.
Right.
But Jolene was talking about how a lot of the witches were online kind of saying this thing about, I can't remember what she told me now, but she watches a lot of stuff. They were all like doing a protective thing. I think I remember reading something about it briefly, but there's been so much. So yeah. So I think that when you put your energy into something and you mean it, and you trust it, it's, that when you say it, and for me, I always allow room for error. Like I said, I wanted my house protected, but if it flooded, that was something that I accept. I could deal with that. I was prepared. And you do what you can. And if you leave your house and you do nothing, or if you don't do anything, that's okay too. You can always say it in your mind when you get to where you're going, and you can collect your thoughts, because doing it in the moment feels really fucking stressful. But I knew I had to, or I was going to worry a lot more. Yeah. But once I said my piece with it, I was like, and now I'm done thinking about it. That's it. That's it. And of course, you're driving, the day after, it was an hour drive back to our house. And we're just, the whole time I'm like,
did you drive home the next day to see your house?
We did,
you had to, right?
I had to. Tony had to. I mean, it was, there was just no way to sit there and be like, whatever. No. Yeah. And all of our neighbors left. People had said they were staying, and at the last minute, again, being in zone A, that immediate zone where it hits, you want to get out. You're like, I'm not going to be ballsy with this one. I'm going to leave. I'm not going to tempt the fates, because there's arrogance, but then there's ignorance,
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, we wanted to make sure that you guys got caught up with our hurricane experience, or what we did to go through, sort of this cycle of nature, of Earth's replenishing. And
also, what you said in the beginning is like, thank everybody for their concern and reaching out to us.
So many people. It was so beautiful. We forget sometimes the community is so much bigger than us, because we,
in our little circle,
we don't get to interact with everybody. And it was like just all the heartfelt like sending you, healing, light, and love, and just all the little things. We want you to know that meant so much. Like that keeps your heart warm and aglow when you're in that place of sort of not knowing what your future holds and feeling a little bit unsure, and maybe even in despair, like, fuck, just let us get through this.
Well, and all of that positive energy coming at us, that. I mean, that's energy we really appreciate, and we needed at that moment.
Yes, thank you so much.
So thank you very much for that and for listening.
Yes, we love you guys, and we're so glad to have you here with us.
And we'll see you on the next podcast.
All right. Bye, witches.
Bye, witches.